So I'm thinking I might stop with this incredibly beautiful backdrop and do a little bit of a deep dive of sorts into the Jester. And I'm just going to start at the front of the bike and just move my way down. And I'll do some close-up shots which I'll edit in. So the basics, steel bike. I'm using 3D printed stainless 17.4 heat treated parts for the head tube, bottom bracket, swing arm, front section, the rear dropout area, and the rocker and top of the seat stays where the bridge is. The rest of it is made up of Columbus butted tubing in the front, tapered, they're actually road fork blades for the seat stays, and straight gauge chromoly tubing for the seat tube and the swing arm. I use 56% silver to join all the tubes. They're an internal lug as opposed to an external lug, like on a normal classic road bike, for instance. The spigot goes inside the tube, so once you braze it all together, creates a nice seamless look. Incredibly strong joint, and uses relatively low heat, so there's no distortion in the frame. Getting alignment is, I wouldn't say easy, but it is easier. You still have to do your checks and balances and make sure that everything's constructed properly. There is one fillet braze joint on the bike, so that's the top tube to the seat tube. I just couldn't come up with a shape that I liked to 3D print that part of it, and it's a quick, I've gotten good at it, so I can do it relatively quickly, and just leaves me a little bit of room to move with stuff there, in some respects. So this one has a 64.5-degree head tube head angle. I'm running a 160mm fork on it at the moment, though it's been designed around a 170 fork with a 44mm offset. That 10mm difference is really not going to make that much difference to the front of the bike. This one has a 120mm top head tube length, and it is a 480mm frame reach. Most brands that's sort of large getting onto extra large, but I run a 35mm stem, so I tend to run the front ends of my bikes a little bit longer. The philosophy with that, or the theory with that, is that it creates a more stable bike, and when you mate that with the 445mm chain stays for this particular size, it just gives a really good pitch control. So the bike's not doing that front to rear pitching as much. It's a lot more balanced. You're standing more balanced in between the wheels, so you find that the bike is not bucking around and sort of bouncing you offline as you're heading into corners, especially in the braking bumps and where you're sort of doing those jig-outs and stuff like that. So it creates a very confident feeling bike. It does increase the wheelbase a little bit, but then again, at the speed that this bike allows you to travel at, you don't want a nervous short bike. It just you use a lot of energy and a lot of mental focus just trying to stay on top of it. And even the good riders, the elite riders, will benefit from a bike that is very predictable, especially when you're at the edge of grip and at the limit of speed, which personally I can't ride this bike to its limits, which is frustrating for myself, but it just means that for a rider like myself, I consider myself above average but slowing down. It just allows me to go as fast as I will let myself go, and the bike's going to be composed and measured and not do anything funky. And that, so at the moment, the shock is a 230 60mm stroke on it, and the rocker is running at a starting ratio of about 3.4 to 1 with about a 27% progression on it. That is a lot higher starting ratio than I liked, so I've already revised the rocker, so the starting ratio is down to 3 to 1. And what that means for if someone wants to use an air shock is that the starting pressure, or the setting pressure, is a lot lower than what we're running at the moment. I think I've set this at 210 psi, which is quite a bit. It shortens the service life when you start pushing the pressures up that high. So Jack's bike, which is the next one from this one, his and going forward from all my bikes will be 3 to 1 starting ratio with that 26-27% progression. So it's a good number to run an air shock or a coil shock. I'll eventually be putting an Öhlins coil on this once I get the custom tune done for it. As you can see on this one, I have an 8 pins integrated dropper. It requires an anchor at the bottom of the seat tube, and what this does is it removes that outer casing of a normal dropper post, and it uses the seat tube as that casing. So nominally about 150 grams lighter than a normal seat post, especially at that drop. I've got 220 millimeters of seat post drop in it. And it's a nice, strong, stiff unit, very well made, really smooth operating. So if you do buy one of my frames, I would encourage and recommend getting one of these. It just creates a really nice package. Having said that, you can run a normal dropper post. I'll supply a shim that drops into the seat tube, so you can run a 35mm dropper post, and it's got an internally run stainless tube from the head tube down the down tube, and it curls around and delivers the cable to the bottom of the seat post, and it works for both systems, so that's not an issue. Bottom brackets, I am building the shell with a T47 specification. Just allows a lot more room within the shell, and what it has also done is just created a bigger shape to build the bottom bracket around. So it's made for a much stronger structure in that bottom section. The bearings, I'm using a shouldered bearing, so that does away with circlips and bottoming out. So I can, what that allows me to do is just ream the bearing seats from the one side, not having to flip the frame over and bottom out and stuff like that. So there's bearings in all the pivots in the front half of it. The rear horse link uses a plain or a bush style bearing. There's only a couple of degrees movement there. So what the problem with that is, a couple of degrees chews normal bearings out very, very quickly, whereas a plain bearing, and when you specify the right material, they're an industrial bearing, very strong, very made for mining environments, so made for very harsh conditions. So they should be for the life of the bike. I do provide free bearing replacements, so every time you want to do your annual service, and you've bought one of my bikes, hit me up and I will send you out a set of bearings so you can refreshen your frame. They are a stainless bearing, so in theory they should last a couple of years before you really need to replace them. So, and it's going to depend on the environment you're riding and how much you ride. So one of the new features, I've been using UDH right from day one that UDH came out. It's a Universal Direct Hanger standard. Because I'm running the Di2 Shimano derailleur on here, I've got the actual UDH hanger. But transmission obviously can bolt straight up. One of the things I've done is preempted what SRAM is doing. They have a patent for a universal brake mount. I do have a preliminary version of that running on this at the moment, and it's actually working really well. I did it as a quick put together for the show, sort of like wasn't really sure how the shape I wanted to make this, but it works really well, and it's a lot less material than I'd been modeling. So whether I take this shape going forward or the more sort of traditional post mount kind of shape that everyone sees, I don't know. It's more an aesthetic thing at the moment. So as I mentioned, the dropper cable runs internally in the down tube, but all the other cabling, especially the brake cable, runs externally on top of the down tube with stainless steel clips, runs beside the bottom bracket and underneath the bottom of the swing arm. The derailleur cable runs along the same on the top of the top tube, goes to the other side of the bottom bracket, and there it darts into the swing arm. There's a guide tube inside the swing arm and it pops out the other end. So again, I'll do some close-ups to show that. And I did that because it just cleans up the bike a little bit. If you're going to be doing anything with cabling, you're undoing the cable anyway, so you might as well just pull it. It's different to a brake hose that has lock nuts and nipples and all sorts of stuff on the end where you can't pull them through guide tubes, but where a gear housing, you take the end cap off and it slides right through, and it makes it a lot easier on that side of the bike as well. So I'm running the new XT Di2 on it. It's a beautiful bit of kit. I've got the Lewis downhill brakes. I've just gone to a slightly thicker front disc, so that's making that bike, that brake work even better again. They're designed for a 2.3mm disc, so I'm pretty happy with that. I've got EX471 rims, Revolution spokes on DT350 hubs, and running the Enduro Race Pirelli Scorpions. Really good tyre and super happy. And that's the Jester. Really happy with where it's at the moment. I forgot to mention the Paddy Mellon steering dampener. So this is the first bike in the world that's integrated the Paddy Mellon in front of the bike. Going forward, that boss in the frame will be a permanent feature of the bike, so you have a choice of running the Paddy Mellon or not. Again, I'm going to encourage and recommend that you get one. It's not just for guys racing at the top level. Yes, it does help. It could potentially make the difference of a few seconds. What it does is when you're in that fast stuff, it just quietens down this. So you're not or if you hit a rock, especially if you have it dialed on a little bit, because you can adjust it on the fly. If you hit a rock and it tends to like knock you forward or like that, or if you're coming into a section where the bike front wheel wants to wash out and you get that jackknife and it doesn't, but it keeps a little bit of grip and it lets you to keep riding. So it's not just for trying to go fast or anything. There's a lot of advantages. It can save you having a crash. It saves a lot of arm fatigue. So in those, like say in the bike park, I've noticed a difference. I don't get the arm pump like I used to. And then even climbing up this trail today, I was riding up and it was quite slow, and you start to get those wanders. So I just dialed it up, and what it did is it actually instead of having those little wobbles as you're climbing, it actually kept it straight. So all it is, I just basically sat on the bike and pedaled, and the bike just literally walked itself up the hill. So it's not just for the elite guys. It's a product that I was a bit on the fence when I first saw it, and when I first sort of was speaking to Jeremiah and Tyler at Paddy Mellon. I was sort of still 50-50. I was like, I don't know, like everybody, like I can ride well enough. I don't need this. But having used it now, I'm not taking it off the bike. It's a superb product. It's incredibly well made. Jeremiah used to run the black box program for RockShox and developed products for Cannondale, so he knows what he's doing when he's making these products. It's not a gimmick, and yeah, everyone should grab one. And it's the same with the 8 pins. It's not gimmicky. There's some real advantages to these products, and the new XT drivetrain. I mean, holy shit! It's incredibly beautiful, the working bit of kit. I think the bulk of the rear derailleur is still getting used to, but that's the modern electronic derailleur. But it's just such a intuitive and easy to use product that has proven itself already to stand the test of time. So there we have it. The Devlin Jester Enduro. I'm really happy with it and super satisfied with where it's at, and can't wait to see some more people riding them. Thanks, guys.